Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. So listen, if you guys can hear me, put a one in the chat, put a one in the chat. I want to greet you, each and every one of you. Thank you guys for joining in. And of course, Merry Christmas Eve. Many of you may be cooking and getting ready for tomorrow's big day. And so I hope that you guys have an amazing Christmas. So listen, I wanted to come in quickly and talk about this article that was in the news this week about a CEO who was removed from an organization that she founded. Okay, the board removed her, and from her position, as I understand from the article, she is still a staff person of the organization, but things are progressing, right? And so she made the announcement publicly on a social media site. And the response from it is what I really want to have a conversation about, okay? So the question is, how can a board remove the founder of an organization? Okay, it happens. It happens. And why does it happen? As the article indicates, allegedly she was a part of some misconduct, whatever that is, that was not defined, and we don't know, right? That's alleged that there was some misconduct. And so it was the decision of the board to remove her. Now let's talk about this, okay? I want to just do a really quick commentary on it, because I know that a lot of us are afraid, right? Afraid of putting board members in place, because there's this thought that what if my board decides that they're going to remove me from the position and take my organization away. All right. Again, there is some alleged misconduct. And so we don't know if that is true or not. Okay. We don't know. However, I'm just going to play devil's advocate for a moment. Obviously, it's very upsetting, and I personally am praying for this beautiful, talented, progressive woman, and hope that all kind of irons out to everyone's satisfaction. That is my hope. But let's just talk about, why would a board remove a CEO? Right? And put the organization in a position that it does not have a leader. Okay. Typically, this happens because there is some misconduct. Okay. Typically, it happens because there is something that is being done or not done for the furtherance of the organization. And so when people hear about this occurrence, they are afraid to put board members in place, right? So now you keep your mother, your brother, your sister, your dog, your cat, your fish, right, as board members, because you are afraid of a board taking your organization away. Has anybody had that fear? Has anyone had that fear? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, okay? If you have that real concern, put a one in the chat. Put a one in the chat that says, Jen, I'm really concerned about board members being able to take my organization away. Now let's talk about the my organization. First of all, you are a community public organization. All right. That's first of all. As soon as you apply for your nonprofit status, the organization does not belong to you. It belongs to the community. Your funding comes from the community. The people who come into your organization and participate come from the community, right? So all of the funding comes from the community. It is a community-based organization. All right. Everything is in the name of the organization, not in your name. Okay. So it is not your organization. As soon as you start a nonprofit, it belongs to the public. Okay. And so the IRS requires that the board is in place to what? Protect the public. to protect the public dollars that are coming into this organization, to ensure that the organization is sticking to and staying to the mission of the organization. Why? Because that is where the IRS is saying, listen, you get the tax exempt status. The people who give into your organization, they get the benefit of the tax write-off for pouring into this organization. Why? Because we as nonprofit leaders do what the government cannot do, and we do what businesses cannot do. All right. So we serve the community in a very meaningful way, and the organization belongs to the community. All right. You have annual meetings and so forth. All right. So I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole, but I just want to, set the groundwork for the commentary and the conversation. Again, I'm using this as an example of your insight and your understanding of the importance and the relevance of a board. All right. I don't want these stories to cause you to fear putting professionals, influencers, those people who have reach into the community, who have some type of leadership capacity on your board. Now, what's important to know is that you are working within your board in partnership. All right. You are working in partnership with your board. Okay. I've been having a lot of conversations about how does a board remove the CEO. First, there has to be a conversation. There has to be a conversation. There has to be a decision, and that has to be documented, which is where and why the minutes of your meeting are so important, right? When you are having your board meetings, and you now are documenting through the secretary on your board, you are documenting the conversation, right? So you've got the agenda items, right? You've got the agenda items that you're going to cover in the meeting, right? Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to you. So you've got the agenda items that you're going to talk about, right, in the meeting. And in those conversations, if there is a vote, there has to be a discussion first. There has to be a conversation. So I was sharing with somebody, and again, I don't know what happened, but this is typically what happens. Okay? The board has had a conversation with the CEO, and that should be documented. If there is a concern, if there is an issue, if there is something that the board and the CEO need to come to some understanding about in terms of a decision being made, in terms of money being spent, in terms of perception, PR in the community, there has to be a conversation. And those things should be documented in your minutes, okay? The minutes are going to help you and the board. All right. So this is my commentary about the article. Have you guys heard the article? Have you guys read the article? Did you hear about it? Right? Put a 1 if you read about it, if you heard about it. Okay. Put a 1 in the chat if you heard about this article. I put the link of the article in the title of this conversation. Okay. So the board cannot just wake up one day and decide, you know what? I think we're going to get rid of the CEO. I think we're going to get rid of the CEO, right? Why would the board put the organization in the position of not having a leader? Why would the board do that? Is that for the betterment of the organization? Probably not, right? So it's not something that happens on a whim. And I want you all not to be afraid, but I want you to put the proper things in place. All right. Put the proper things in place. What's the proper things, Jen? Making sure that your board positions are filled, especially the secretary. All right. Especially the secretary, the person who is taking notes of what is the conversation, what is this discussion, right? Before there's a vote of any kind, there is a discussion. If you guys are not following the Robert's Rules of Order in your meetings, and if you are not documenting the conversation and the discussion and how the votes are made, you should be. All right? You should be. That's going to tell you the history. Your discussions are going to say, this is what we talked about. This is how we resolved it. This is what came to a vote. This is how the vote came out, right? Who was for it? Who was the yays and who was the nays? And what was the conversation around it? I do not believe. And y'all know I've got over 30 years of experience in this thing, right? And I've had a lot of board members having these conversations and a lot of leaders being concerned, right, about the mutual power. The board does not have all power. However, you and the board are working in partnership. That means that if there is an issue, if there is communication that needs to be had, if there is something that is concerning, it should be the betterment of the organization is at the core of that concern, right? The betterment of the organization should be at the core. It's not personal. It shouldn't be personal. Okay? But either way, there has to be a conversation that is noted. If you are not covering your organization, if you are not working in transparency, if you are not in partnership and cooperation with your board, you could be and should be not to be afraid. Everything that you all are discussing should be documented. Do you have board minutes? And in those board minutes, is there an issue, right? What is the business that is being discussed? What are the concerns? Have things been tabled? Have actions been agreed upon? All of that, you should be able to go straight to your minutes and say, this is what we discussed on this date. This is how we resolved that issue. This is what the vote came out. One person on the board cannot remove a CEO. One person on the board cannot remove a CEO. It has to be a majority vote. What does that mean? That means that if more than one person, right, on the board has a concern, there should be documented conversation. I don't want anyone to feel as if I'm afraid of a board. They're only there for a period of time, according to your bylaws. They're there for what, 3 years? How long are your board there? Your board members on your board. Put it in the chat. Do you know what your bylaws say? Do you know what your bylaws say about removing a position or removing a CEO? That should be in your bylaws. It should be in your bylaws about how to dissolve the organization. It should be in your bylaws about how votes are taken, if there is a quorum. All of those things should be there, all right? The question is, can there be language to safeguard the founder from being removed? Can you shed light on that? Now, let me say this. There are times when the CEO should be removed. If, in fact, the CEO is not managing the money, if, in fact, the CEO is not moving and doing the job of safeguarding the public's trust, the CEO should be removed, all right? The language is to safeguard the organization, not one person, okay? Now, if again, as I said, if the CEO is taking money, if the CEO is not doing the job, they should be removed. In any job, if you're not doing it, you should be removed. Now, I don't know what happened with this beautiful woman. I don't know. But what I'm saying is this. If she has done nothing wrong, there should be minutes. There should be documentation. There should be recordings of conversations with that CEO and the board. If there are no minutes, if there is no tracking of conversation, then she has something to fight. Okay? But what I'm saying to you is this. Are you doing your due diligence? That's what I want you to get from this. Do your due diligence. What's your due diligence? Have your regular meetings. For many of you who are not having regular meetings, you're not meeting, you're not taking notes in minutes, you are not adhering to Robert's Rules of Order. You yourself are the board president. That's a whole problem in itself. That's a whole different line. We won't even go down that road, okay? But you should be working in partnership. There should be conversation, not just in the board. You should be having conversations one-on-one with the board, with the president, and those conversations should be documented. That covers you. That covers the organization. That's what's most important. Now, I know all of us who are founders, right? You're a founder and you're like, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. The truth be told, it's not. It's not yours. I know that's hard for you to believe. I know it's how, oh my gosh, I started it because whatever. It's not yours. It belongs to the community. The board is in place to protect the community, to protect the monies that come from the community into that organization. The board is in place so that the organization that is seen and perceived, right, and managed as a place of trust, so that the community, these are their peers, these board members are their peers, they're not being paid, they are volunteers, right? And they should have a passion for the progression of the organization. It is their due diligence to ensure that the money is being managed well, right? So that they can now go out into the community as a representative of the community, as a leader and an influence that is that bridge between the general community and the organization to attest, to testify, to share, to communicate that this is an organization that can be trusted with your public dollars, okay? The board is important and they are powerful partners, okay? Partners. There should be a tracking and tracing of conversation. No one person can remove anybody. That's your safeguard. There has to be a majority vote. There has to be a quorum. Are you honoring your bylaws? You don't have to be afraid of people who are interested, who are influential, who have influence to help you broaden your reach in the community. This should not make you afraid. This should embolden you to know your bylaws. This should embolden you to understand who is on my board and why are they here. And we should be having conversation. Why can't we have conversation? What are you afraid of? I'm afraid that they're going to come on the board and they're going to take my organization. Listen, this is my belief. And if y'all don't agree with me, say, Jen, I don't agree with that. This is my belief. I don't believe people get fired without cause. I just don't. I don't think anybody walks in and say, you know what, you're doing an amazing job. I'm going to fire you. Again, I'm not speaking about this situation because I don't know what happened. Allegedly, there was some misconduct. And if that's true, I don't know. If there is misconduct, that person should be fired. If there's no misconduct, that should be easily proven as well. Where is the conversation? Where the minutes of the meetings where we as a board, as an organization, had conversations about the concerns that the board had. There should be conversations about the concerns that the board had. There should be input from the board that says, this is our concern. Let's figure out a plan to improve either perception, to improve the financial management. There should be a plan of action on your day job. Those of you who have a day job, you what? If there is something that needs to be corrected, there is a plan of correction, right? And it's documented. This is what the plan of correction is. These are the things that should be taken care of, and by when. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Right? The same thing should be happening. That's your paper trail. That's your protection. You've got your bylaws. You've got the minutes of the meetings. That's your protection. And that's the board's protection. Because let me say this. If in fact, there is an organization, and I'm not talking about this particular organization that's in the article. I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about anyone, right? If in fact, there is misconduct of the CEO, who do you think the IRS is coming to first? They're coming to the board. And they're going to say to the board, so tell us, you are overseeing, that's your job, the fiscal fiduciary responsibility. Your job is to make sure that the public dollars are being protected, right? The organization is giving financials. The organization is showing and sharing how the money is spent. The board and the treasurer and the president are understanding the flow of the cash. Why? Because it's the public's money. And that's their responsibility in partnership with the CEO, right? So if in fact there is money missing, if in fact the money is not being managed as it should be, who do you think they're going to come to first? They're going to come to the board. They're going to come to the board and they're going to say, did you all not know this? How come y'all didn't know this? Were you all not having meetings? According to your bylaws, you said that you were going to be having what? Meetings every quarter or every other month, or whenever you all say that you're going to have them in your bylaws. And in those meetings, were you looking and reviewing at the financials? Were you having conversations about how money is spent? No, why not? What were y'all talking about? What were you talking about if it was not the management of the organization? The board is important. Listen, I don't want anyone feeling as if that's why I'm afraid to have a board. That's why I'm afraid. It's not your organization. And if you are going to take public dollars, you got to come to that resolve. Y'all know I love you, right? You know I love you. And I just cannot let y'all start this thing wrong. I just can't. I can't, and I will not. I will not take responsibility for that. All right? I will not take responsibility of not saying anything. Is that all right? Is that all right? Okay? The board is your partner. And for those of you who say, I'm afraid to put people on my board, I'm holding the organization like this, and I'm not telling them anything. right? It's a hard pill to swallow that it's not my organization. It's not. It's not your organization. Now that should be freeing, not cause you to be fearful. It should be freeing. Why? Because it's not your responsibility to run it. That should be freeing. It should be freeing to know that as a community-based organization, there are people, there are entities, there are volunteers, there are funders that are also interested in the mission. Now let's say this. Well, Jen, what if a board comes in and wants to change the program? Now let me say this. The board's role is not program. Now, if you have decided that you want free labor, if you have decided that you don't really know how to run the organization, so what have you done? You now have put the power of the organization in the hands of the board. I'm not, do board members share legal responsibility? Chris, yes, yes. And I'm gonna get back to that. Please remind me of that, okay? You now have said to the board, I need help. I need help. I need help with program. I need help with, what do I do? I don't know what to do. So I done brought all these people on and I want them, get me now, I want them to tell me what to do. That's not how this relationship should be set up. But if you don't know what to do, right? Now you don't put these people on the board and you have let them run the organization. You have turned it over to the board and that is not their role. Their role is not program. But see, some of y'all want free labor, right? You don't want to pay nobody. So you think, I'm gonna get a board member and I need a board member to do communications and I need a board member to do grants and I need a board member to do PR and I need a board member to run the program. I need the board to do everything other than what is their purview. You have turned the board over to them and now you're sitting there saying, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? You tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. You tell me what to do. Now you don't put the board in the driver's seat. And when they make a decision that is contrary to what you want, it's too late. You done already given them the keys to the car. You done gave them the house, the lease to the house. You have given them full access. And that's not their purview. Are you hearing me? Am I screaming again? Y'all, every time I get on this doggone thing, why do I start screaming? I don't want to do that. I say to myself, Jen, don't start screaming. Just calm down. I mean, y'all don't even understand the conversations I have with myself. And I say, self, calm down. And then I get in the conversation and start screaming. Pardon me for screaming, right? Y'all know I get passionate. I get turned up about this kind of stuff. I just get real passionate about this kind of stuff. Can I keep screaming? All right, thank you. All right. So now, because you don't know how to run the organization, and because you've not put a strategic plan in place that gives the board, right, their responsibility, don't laugh at me, Chris, that you put the board in their lane, right? That's what your strategic plan says. Your organizational strategic plan says, the board, this is what y'all's priorities are. This is what your focus are. And then the organization, this is me as the CEO, you as the CEO, this is what we will manage within the organization. If you don't have that strategic plan, you now are going to the board and you're saying, y'all sitting there brainstorming, right? And because you're coming to the table with no ideas, of what to do, you're saying to the board, tell me what to do, tell me what to do, tell me what to do. You tell me what to do. So now they're managing the organization. And so if they decide, you know what, I think we should do this. I think we should change the program. I think we should change the mission. I think you done gave them the permission to do that. Don't get mad. Don't get mad. Don't get mad. Hashtag, don't get mad. Don't get mad that you gave them full authority and they took it. That's not how it's supposed to be. Are you listening to me? Okay? You work in partnership. No one should come into that meeting, right? No strategic plan is an invitation for a takeover. It is. You all should come into your board meetings with what? Old business. Did we take care of the old business? We should be talking about the finances. This is where we are. This is the money that came in. This is the money that went out. It should be transparent. Listen, if you're giving your money to an organization and you don't know where that money is going, you don't know where the money's going. You give your money to an organization, you don't know where the money is going. And as soon as you begin to doubt that the money is going to where you thought it was going or where you were told it was going, what are you going to do? You're going to withhold your money, as you should. Now you've got the nonprofit and you want people to give into your organization and there's no accounting of the money. There's no budget in place. There is no secretary to work with you, overseeing to ensure that the funds are coming in and that you are not exceeding your expenses, but you want the community to just give you money. No, you wouldn't do it. Now, would you do it? Put a one if you would do it. Put a one if you would say, yep, if I knew of an organization, they didn't have no board, they didn't have no accounting of the money, if we don't know where the money is. Would you keep putting your money into that? No, you would not. No, you would not. Listen, I can't stand no raggedy nonprofit. Jesus, I can't stand it. I can't take no net. Listen, I can't take it. I can't take no raggedy nonprofit. Don't be afraid of the board. Be afraid of your lack of knowledge. Be afraid of that. Be afraid that I don't know what I should put in place. Be afraid of I don't have a plan. Be afraid of that. Listen, you have got to get people in partnership with you. And if they are going to be a board member, good. What are you afraid of? They're going to take your organization? It doesn't belong to you. So that should just lift all that burden. It doesn't belong to you. As soon as you said, I am a tax-exempt organization, I belong to the community, that's freeing. It's freeing because you don't have to be the only one managing it. You're not the only one funding it. You're not the only one who is sharing in your impact development. That's freeing. But if you started it because you want your own thing, but you want somebody else to fund it, that's shady. You want your own thing. You want to be tax exempt, but you don't want to be accountable to the community. That's shady. I don't know any other word. Y'all got another word? That's the only word that comes to my mind. Shady. I'm sure there's another word. I'm sure there's another word. But shady works for me. You want a business, but you want somebody else to fund it. You don't want to manage the money. You don't want to put a strategic plan in place. You don't want to learn how to run it. You just want money coming in. No accounting, no budget. You just want money coming in. And you want a funder. You want a funder to give you money to buy a building. Right. Right, Chris. Come on. It's a business. It's a business. It's a business. It's not personal. It shouldn't be personal. You should be leading this organization from a place of, I want the strongest minds. I want the people who have the ability to support and help the mission move forward. I want the influencers in the community to share in the development and the execution of the mission. And we will work in partnership. Not everybody should be a board member, but because you're so hungry for somebody to help you run the organization, you don't put these people in place. I need you to do fundraising. I need you to do grant writing. I need you to do PR. I need you. You want employees without paying for them. You want these people to be volunteers in a position to run the organization and the program. And that's not their purview. You should be in your board meeting. You should be giving a program report. Somebody should be giving a program report from within the organization. Someone should be giving a financial report. If there is conversation and if there is transparency, where can there be a problem? Where is there a problem? The problem comes when there is no communication, there is no transparency, and there's no accounting, no record, no minutes anywhere, no plan. This is why your strategic plan is so important. When you come into your board meetings, you should be having a meeting about what did we talk about last time? Did we move forward from that? Did we accomplish that? Did we achieve that? Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Is everything now, are we ready to move forward with the new business, right? Are there any questions about the old business? Are there any discussions about the old business? No, no? All right. So then we vote that everything is done. Yay, yay. Anybody have a concern? Anybody? Now is the discussion. No discussion? Or is there a discussion after the discussion is over? All right. Are we ready for the vote? I move that we vote for this. I second it. Everything is above board. Everybody's a part of the conversation. Everybody's in the vote. What is the problem? How do we get now to they took the organization? No, no, that's not how it happens. There was a conversation. There should be conversation. There should be the minutes. This is what we discussed. This was the question. This was the conversation that was had after the question. This is the person that said, I move that we vote on this. This is the person that said, I second that. If all in favor say aye, there were this many ayes. All in favor say no, or those who are opposed vote nay. This is how many nays. It's transparent. But guess what? If it is a majority vote, y'all gonna go with the majority. That's it. Am I missing something? Am I missing something? Listen. There are 3 reasons organizations fail. And there are 3 reasons working with your board is a challenge. I don't have a strategic plan. that strategic plan, honey, will be your friend. Because everybody in the plan knows their roles, their responsibilities, and when things should be done. If you don't have that strategic plan, it's, I didn't know. I thought she was doing this. I thought he was doing that. I don't know. We didn't talk about it. Your strategic plan drives and provides everyone with the direction by which the organization and the board are moving strategically. Your board meetings now are talking about, where are we on the plan? What was achieved? What were the deadlines? Are we meeting those deadlines? Do we need to renegotiate some areas of activity in the plan? Yes, yes, okay, we all agree. Awesome. It's very transparent. So if you don't have a strategic plan, it is a windfall and your word against theirs. The second is, I've got to be able to articulate. I've got to be able to communicate with the people who are working in partnership with me. Your board is your partner. Now, if you got your mother, your father, your dog, your cat, your fish, you don't have minutes, you don't have meetings, if anything goes down within that organization and a funder comes back to you and says, I gave you money and you did not do what you said you were going to do, I can ask for my money back. I didn't give you my money, just do whatever you want to do with it. I gave you my money with the intention that you were going to do this with it. If you did not do with it, I have a right to demand my money back. You cannot take from the public and not be accountable to the public. You cannot take from the public and not be accountable to the public. Come on now. So if anything happens with the money, with the perception of how the money is, who are they going to? They're going to go to the board. They're going to start with the board and they're going to say, you were supposed to be overseeing the public's money. Now, you all have heard about board members who have what? Insurance, right? Many of you all ain't got nothing to insure. But anyway, if you decide to get the board's insurance, that's a protection of the board that says they're not going to come after my personal stuff, right? Because I'm supposed to be overseeing these public dollars. And if anything comes up missing, if anything happens to this public entity, can they come after me? This is why, y'all, these meetings, these minutes, and this strategic plan is your friend. Everything is above board. Everybody knows where we are. Everybody's having conversations about what we're doing and how things were done and how the money was spent. There is accounting. Those of y'all who are running around here jackleg, you got your whole 1023, you got your paper, you posting it and you excited. Oh my gosh, yes, up today, we got our 501c3. Everybody clap, yay! I ain't got no board. I don't have a budget. I don't have a strategic plan. Don't you fool around and get arrested. Why would they arrest you? Because you are fooling around with the public's money. It is not your money. It is not, I have a vision, I have a dream, the Lord gave me this, and I just feel like it's my burden. It was not given to you for you. It was given to you for the community. Am I being clear? Y'all got to have a strategic plan. That's going to be your friend. You've got to have a plan for the board, a plan for the organization, and the two combined is what's going to show how the organization is raising money, where it's raising money from, right? You got to put your things in order. And listen, ignorance is not going to stop anybody from coming knocking on your door saying, I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. that is not going to be an excuse. I'm helping you now. It's not going to be an excuse. Google ain't going to tell you this. Google not going to tell you this. You've got to have a strategic plan. You've got to follow your bylaws. You've got to have your meetings and have those meetings recorded. All right. Either you have a secretary, right, taking the minutes, shorthand, longhand, or recording it. Y'all know I'm doing this, right? Put your business in order. And think about this, that when you retire, this is how you know the organization ain't yours. And you say, I'm going to pass it down to my kids. I'm going to leave and I'm going to pass it down to my kids. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the community. This is not a house that you bought that you can just will to your children. If your children are jacking up the funds, they should be removed. Nobody gets fired for no cause. Right? So you don't need to be afraid. They're going to fire me. Why would they fire you? Why would the board remove anybody? Usually it's because the CEO is not doing what they're supposed to do, and then they should be removed. If you don't know how to do your job, do you think somebody's going to keep you on your job? No. And just because you decided to run down there and pay the IRS $260 for that short form on the 1023, you got yourself a whole piece of paper that says you know how to run this business. And ignorance is not going to be an excuse when you are taking the public's dollar. Now, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to inspire you to get it together. That's it. I'm not trying to scare you. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid when you know how to do it right. You're not afraid when you got things in place. Don't be afraid when you're doing the right thing. You should be afraid. If you think taking public's money and not having a budget, that don't scare you. It doesn't scare you to take a grant and you don't have a budget. You don't have an accounting for the designated dollars and the non-designated dollars. Now, if that does not scare you, you ain't afraid of hell. You're not. You are not afraid of hell. You like, I'm living on the edge, honey. I'm living on the edge and I don't mind. I'm out here and got myself a whole public organization. I don't have a board. I'm living on the edge. I don't have a budget. I'm living on the edge. I'm applying for grants and making up relationships, making up that I know what I'm doing because I want the money to be able to pay myself a salary so that I can leave my job. I am living on the edge. Don't do it. Don't do it. I am praying. I'm praying. I'm praying that the resolve of this issue in the current news is one that is a mistake that can be shown through evidence of minutes and conversations. This is evidence. This is clear-cut evidence, right? The board, all the board members get the minutes. All the board members are seeing and are aware of what the conversation is. No board member should be saying, I didn't know. I wasn't there. I didn't vote. No, everybody has a copy of those things. Everyone shows that they read it, right? When you come into the board meetings, you say, did you receive the minutes? Yes. Did you read the minutes? Yes. Was there a conversation from it? Then we vote to accept the minutes. That means everybody saw it. Everybody read it. Everybody now is voting. I read it. I understood it. There was no question. We're moving on. These minutes represent what we discussed. That's wonderful. That's nothing to be afraid of. That's great. What you should be afraid of is we're not having board meetings. We're not taking any minutes. Nobody's coming to the board meetings. That's when you should be afraid. You are a public organization. Anybody who donates to your organization has a right to say, I want to see the budget. They have a right. The public is funding it. Now, for those of you who decide, I don't want that. I don't want the board. I don't want the public to be able to have any control. So I'm gonna fund it myself because I don't want any of that. If anything happens to the participants in the organization, who's liable? Come on. Get you a strategic plan. If you don't have one, get on my calendar. I've got one. I got a whole workbook. That will show you and walk you through that strategic plan. That's going to save you a whole lot of headache. It's going to help you manage and work in partnership with your board on focused goals, conversations about what are the needs, what are the priorities of the organization. You all are working together, right? You are coming into agreement in this plan that these are the things that we're going to focus on. These are the things that we're going to work on in this year. There should be no deviating. This is the plan, right? Get that strategic plan in place. Create a plan for conversation and communication with your board, not just in the board meetings. Have one-on-one conversations with the board members. How are you doing? How are you doing? Are there any ways that the organization can be more efficient and effective as a partner with the community? What are your suggestions? There should be no blindsiding when you are in partnership with not just your donors, but with your board. And number 3, if you are a leader that does not trust anybody, I don't trust the board, I don't trust anybody, I don't want to share my vision with anybody, because what if they take it? How about it doesn't belong to you? So that takes care of that. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to you. It's mine. They can take it. Nobody can take what's public. Nobody can take it. It's already public. It's already public. I'm going to say it again. It's already public, right? And you are doing what is filling a gap and a void that's not being done. But if you are a person that says, I got to hold it, I don't trust anybody, I'm doing it all myself, I don't know how to delegate, I don't want to give it to anybody, it's all mine, then do not be surprised that when nobody knows what you're doing and someone in the public has a question and no one can answer because you didn't discuss it, because it's not a part of any conversation, because it's not in any minutes, nobody can cover you now. Nobody can talk about, no, that wasn't what we discussed. No, that's not why she's doing that. No, she made that decision because this is what we as an organization decided. You don't have no covering then. Remember, You are a public organization, and working in partnership with everybody knowing the strategic plan, everybody knowing their roles, now you can cover each other. All right, I'm done. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Listen, you're about to go into a brand new year. This is your opportunity as the CEO of your organization to plan and map the success of the organization with, in cooperation with, in collaboration with a board. You need a board. It's law. When you accepted that 1023 form, when you said I'm a nonprofit, you have to have a board. You have to. So for those of y'all who are skating because you ain't afraid, you living on the edge, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? Y'all know I've been in this thing for over 30 years. Over 35 years I've been doing this. And I've had to be a part of boards and mediating between CEOs and board members. And the biggest challenge when you have to mediate is communication. You all are on the same team. You should be on the same side. There should be conversation, transparency, not just within that clique, but to the community. The community is entrusting you with their resources. You and the board are working in cooperation to advance the mission of the organization. And you're working towards a clear plan, programmatically, organizationally, financially, every single year. You are operating fiscally responsible. If you've got more expenses than you have revenue, you need somebody to come in there and say, listen, we're not managing this thing right. You can't do that at your house. You can't have more expenses than you have revenue. Somebody should say stop. Right? And if you are the board chair, you got to get out of that position. You got to get out of that position. Okay? You've got to get out of that position. Your job is not the CEO and the board chair. That's not your job. All right? Are there any questions before I let y'all go? Listen, I am your nonprofit expert. Not only am I the grant guru, not only do I help you all create strategic fundraising plans, not only do I mentor and coach new executive directors on how to start and grow and build a plan and a path for sustainability, I am your biggest cheerleader. The work that we do is so important. The relationships that we're able to build with our community to ensure that the lives that we touch and affect, not just in our program, but even through the relationships of our donors, are inspiring, life-changing. And we get an opportunity to do it every day. Starting this type of business, as with any type of business, takes strong leadership, takes understanding of the business, and the management for success. You and your board have got to work together. Don't be afraid of a board. Put people on the board who are influential, who are good partners